Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today is March 1st, and so it is the beginning of my March reading vlog. I don't know how interesting this will be because starting tomorrow I will be traveling again for a while, and I never quite know how much reading and updating I will get done when I'm traveling. We'll see about that, but I'm going to visit my partner and it's gonna be great, so I'm very excited about that. Let me just tell you what I'm reading right now, I guess. So my main read right now is Silver Sparrow by Tayari Jones. I picked this up because of Blackathon, but I knew I wouldn't be able to finish it in time, so I want to finish this today. I am a little bit more than halfway through, so I'm pretty confident that I can do it because I'm still on vacation. I have days off work, so this will be my priority today. This book follows a family where the dad has two families, a normal, ordinary one and a secret one. And the first part of this book was told from the point of view of the daughter who knows about the other family. And now, where I'm at, the second part that I started reading last night, we get the point of view of the daughter who doesn't know about the other family. And I'm pretty sure at some point she will find out. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to see where this goes, and that's what I'm reading right now. And then the other book I am slowly buddy reading with a friend. We're doing one chapter a day, and currently I think we're at chapter 6, is Nonviolent Communication by Marsha B. Rosenberg. And this is a book about communication, as you would have guessed. And it is all about how we can express our feelings and express requests and our needs in a way that, yeah, it's just non-violent, so it doesn't demand things from other people and stuff like that. So I'm enjoying this one so far. It's definitely an interesting perspective, and I just read the chapter of the day, and today's chapter was all about kind of expressing what we need. So the basic idea is that you have to separate kind of certain levels in this way of communicating. So first of all, you have to observe without judging. That was like the first big chapter. Then you have to figure out what your feelings are. So it deals a lot with like what feelings actually are. Then you have to figure out kind of your needs, like where do these feelings come from, what needs are met, what needs are not met. And so this chapter that I read today is all about how to now express yourself when you want to ask others to meet those feelings. And it was a very interesting chapter. This one seemed very long to me. I don't know if that is just my head, but yeah, I did enjoy this. It talked a lot about the difference between requests and demands and how you can try to convey that what you're saying is a request and not a demand. And the important thing about that is that a request is something where you don't get mad or judgy when it is not met. So yeah, I did enjoy this. Still thinking about it a little bit, but so far I think that this book is definitely an interesting perspective on how we communicate. Still, I sometimes feel like just from reading it, it is very hard to learn it. There are a couple of exercises, but I think really implementing it in your life is still very hard. So we'll see about that. But yeah, so far, as I said, I am enjoying it, and I'll keep you updated on that one. Now, the last book I'm reading is my audiobook, Assassin's Quest. I have 9 hours of that left right now. I just listened to a little bit of it. So I am in the last quarter. This book is very long. I think it was almost 40 hours on audio, so it's definitely taking me a while, but I also enjoy taking my time with it. I have come really close to these characters, especially Fitz, but then also all the characters that surround him. And in this one, this is the third book in the 4-series trilogy. We're following a main character called Fitz, who is a bastard son of a prince. And at the point where we're at right now, he's trying to get to his king, and there's just a lot of traveling going on, a lot of kind of secrecy with his travel companions, but we're slowly but surely finding out some things. So yeah, I'm really ready for like the hopefully very explosive emotional ending that we'll get with this series. And that's it. That's what I'm reading right now. So I better get back to it.
This beautiful book will go back to the library today.
So it is the 2nd of March and I must be on my way, but last night I did finish Silver Sparrow by Tayari Jones. I decided to give it 4 stars. It is a very strong 4-star book, but I still felt I liked the first half a lot more than the second half, and I just wished the ending would have been a little bit different. I wish that the women would have recognized who the real kind of evil, like the person who hurt them all, is, instead of what happened. I think what happened in the book is a realistic portrayal, but I would have wished that we get a little bit more of a different ending. But I have to head to my train now, so more conclusive thoughts you will get in my wrap-up later on. So today I'm coming to you from a different location. Today is the 3rd of March, and last night on the train, no, not last night, yesterday on the train, I did manage to read a little bit. I read the next chapter in Nonviolent Communication. This is my buddy read project where we read 1 chapter a day, and yesterday's chapter was all about kind of listening and receiving emphatically, and it was very interesting. I did really enjoy this, and I have great discussions about this with my friend that I'm buddy reading this with, so that's a lot of fun. And yeah, it basically just talks about how we should listen to people sometimes. Like, what I'm missing a little bit about this book is that is not something that you could or should do like all the time, but there are just some moments where it's warranted, and maybe sometimes it's okay to also react in other ways, I think, personally. But this book kind of makes it out to be like how you should always communicate, and I think that can be a little bit difficult in like the real world. And then I also started a book, and I'm actually doing a separate reading vlog for these, because I started reading The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. And this is the first series that I want to marathon this year from my list. And so yeah, I'll do separate reading vlogs for the whole series, like 1 separate reading vlog for the whole series. And I'm very excited about it. I hope that these will be like very fun and fast-paced. This book has been compared to Six of Crows, and reading about the first quarter yesterday on the train, I can definitely see where that comparison comes from, but it's definitely its own story, and it even also reminded me a little bit of Babel, but I don't want to talk about it too much in this vlog, so I don't repeat myself too much. But yeah, that's happening now, and I'm very excited for it, but we'll see how much reading I can actually get done in the next couple of days, because I'm not home, so we'll have lots of things that we want to do apart from reading as well. And yeah, so that's my update, and I'll talk to you soon. So today is the 6th of March, and today is my first day back to work, and so far I think I can really keep my positive mindset, and I actually think that the Nonviolent Communication book is really helping me with that, which is really great. So I think since we last talked, I have read 3 more chapters of this book, and I quickly wanted to talk about that. So I think the first one we haven't talked about yet is the power of empathy. And this was just a chapter describing what empathy means in the sense of this communication technique. And it's basically a lot about taking judgment out of what you're hearing. So as I said before, there was a chapter that talked about the kind of distinction between an observation and a judgment. And so if you want to be empathetic, you basically want to take your judgment out of things, and you want to take kind of your ego out of things. So that's why in this technique, mostly it is using questions, because when you ask these questions about how other people are feeling, you're basically taking yourself out of the equation. And that is a very important part of how this communication style works. And that's also why I feel like you can't always do that, because sometimes you also want to be part of a conversation. But if you really want to just understand and kind of be this echo box for someone, I think this kind of empathy can be very helpful. I also discussed with my friend that I'm buddy reading this with that it goes a little bit against what we sometimes think empathy is, because I think we confuse it with sympathy a lot. So saying things like, oh, I really understand and stuff like that is not actually empathy. It's more sympathy. So there's also a lot of examples in this chapter what empathy is not, and I thought that was very helpful. The next chapter I read was connecting compassionately with ourselves. So this chapter focused more on the kind of relationship that we have with ourselves and how we listen to ourselves, which I think is also very important. So this is adjacent to topics of self-compassion, because again, when you are being empathetic with yourself, you again take your judgments and your ego out of it, and you try to find out what your actual feelings and needs are, and you want to kind of change the judgments into your needs so you can express them and have a higher chance of having them actually be met. So this chapter also talked about the fact that we usually use a lot of should and must when we explain what our days are like. So we have to go to work and we should do the dishes and we have to make dinner and stuff like that. And it actually talks about how we can get out of this mindset that a lot of the things we do is not our choice. And that's something I already tried to do. But I realized that I only ever try it in my free time. So for example, with exercise, I have been quite good at telling myself that I want to do the exercise and not that I have to. And that actually really helps. It sounds like such a silly little thing, but it really helps to just show that this is your choice and you're making a choice in that situation. And immediately you can feel more motivated. And then I realized I never did that for work. And work always feels to me like a must kind of thing. And he talks about this whole topic again with his work. He has this example that he really hated writing reports. And so he was trying to find a reason why he's doing it. So he was like, I actually want to write reports because, but he couldn't really come up with a good because. And so that actually led him to decide that he wouldn't do it anymore. So, this might not always be very accessible. I think he is a very privileged man because he has a very high education, and he can be oh, my job is actually not fulfilling, so I'll find another way to make money, basically. But still, I thought it was a little bit inspiring to also use the kind of choice-based thinking with work. And yeah, I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around that. And then today's chapter was about anger, and I think it's a very interesting choice to use anger as a feeling to focus on more in this book, because usually anger is one of those feelings that we associate with others. So we feel angry because someone did something to us. Again, earlier in the book, he talked about stimulus and cause. So a person can be the stimulus for our anger, but it's usually not the cause. And so this chapter again focused on the idea of changing the judgments into the actual needs that are not being met, and that to fully express your anger and to let people see the pain that causes your anger, you have to be in contact with your feelings and needs, and it doesn't help to just be rude or hurt someone else to express your anger, because he says that's just a superficial way of expressing your anger, and it doesn't really help people see why you're angry or how you're hurting. So I thought that was quite interesting, and as I said, just an interesting feeling to go with for this book, and one that we've probably all dealt with before in very different ways. Like also how we express our anger, I think, is very different, but usually not the way that this book kind of portrayed it and explained it. And so I really liked the kind of example that was given at the end of this chapter, because it really felt like also portraying some mistakes that you can still make when you're learning this way of communicating, and how it's sometimes hard to like not react in the way that you've been told your whole life, just to lash out if you're angry and stuff like that. So I liked that example because it also showed ways to kind of like come back from that and just be honest and be like, okay, let me just think for a second, take a breath and stuff. And it also mentions a lot that these things, they take time. So in the moment, but also when you're learning them, that you have to be kind of patient and take your time and take deep breath and see how it goes. And so I really like that, because it's really not something you can just read and then implement in your life without any problem at all. But yeah, I've been kind of like practice talking with my kind of buddy reading partner, and it is really fun to try this out and to see the reactions. And I think we had a really nice conversation last night. So we're doing it in chat, which is also really helpful, because when you write things down, you can think about it more, you can delete stuff and write it again. And I think that's a good way to practice this. And I'm very intrigued to see how this will slowly probably seep into my normal talking as well in certain situations. So yeah, really having fun with this book. So I think the lighting isn't great, but I wanted to give you an update on nonviolent communication. Today I read the next chapter, and in this chapter it talked about mediating conflict, so resolving conflicts that you have with other people, but also resolving conflict between two other people or groups of people. So it focused more on the whole process, so not only getting in touch with your feelings and needs, but then also continuing on to making requests. And what is special about this way of this kind of mediation on conflict resolving is that he says that the idea is not to reach some kind of a compromise, but instead this is about looking for the needs that the people or groups of people have, and then trying to find ways to fulfill those needs. So talking about strategies as well. And I think that is a very interesting look at conflicts, because usually at the heart of a conflict is two people who have a certain strategy, but those strategies are in conflict with each other. So the idea is to find the need that this strategy is for and to look for other strategies that might meet this need but are not in conflict anymore. And so I think that is a very interesting look at things. And I think, yeah, it's just a good way to go into conflicts, to not expect to reach a compromise that maybe is not great for either party. So, for example, there is a lot of talk about the war in Ukraine, and especially in the German media, there is a lot of people who claim that they just have to reach a compromise by talking. And obviously, a lot of people don't agree with that because they say that Russia is the aggressor, and so if there is a compromise, Russia would get something from their aggression. And I think looking at it through the lens of this nonviolent communication framework, you would not try to find a compromise, but you would try to find out what is the need that these two kind of players, in a sense, are trying to meet. And I think for Ukraine it is probably simpler because they want to kind of save themselves and save their country, so their need is safety and protection from Russia. But the question kind of is, what is the need of Russia and what could be a different strategy to meet that need? Not that I am an expert on that by any means, but that's just one of those conflicts where I just so often hear that we can't solve it by talking because that would result in a compromise, and a compromise is not acceptable in that case. So I think in that regard, nonviolent communication could be a very interesting tool. Now, obviously, the difficulty is to get both parties to agree to this kind of mediation. And so far, I don't think that it's even on the table to do that, but maybe it would be worth checking out. So apart from that, I think it's so great to buddy read this book with a friend because we're both practicing a lot and it's a lot of fun. And I think we've both now had this experience that it is such a great way of communication, and we tried it both ways now, so I think we both had like a very similar experience, and it's just fun, it's just really cool. So if you ever want to pick this book up, I would highly recommend doing it with a friend or colleague or something like that, where you can also practice this way of communicating. And I also did some conflict solving on my own today. And for that, it also worked quite well. I still feel like I have a hard time seeing the lines where, you know, you put yourself back into the conversation, kind of. But it would have been better to read this chapter first and then do the conflict solving. It just didn't happen that way because the conflict was there before I had time to read the chapter. But still, I feel like I did a good job. It was very satisfying. Yeah, it's just great to see that this is something that I've only implemented within like 2 weeks now, and I'm definitely no expert on it, and still I can see positive outcomes from it. And that's really cool, and I really appreciate that. today I think is the 11th of March. I wanted to give you a quick update. I finished reading Nonviolent Communication. I decided to give this book 4.5 stars. And yeah, the last chapters were quite interesting again. It talked about, I'm not quite sure where I left off honestly, but one chapter talked about the use of force, so that sometimes some situations just need you to be forceful. For example, if you see a child running towards a street and you know that just calling something would not be enough, then you have to use some kind of force to protect the child, but that there is a big difference between protecting and then punishing, and that whenever we use force, we have to keep that different in mind. And then the next chapter was about counseling, but also just, talking to oneself and stuff like that, so I really appreciated that. And then the last chapter talked about appreciation, and again it was a chapter I really enjoyed because a lot of people don't like getting compliments, me included, because we don't really know how to deal with that. And so he explained a very easy way how to give a compliment so that it is easy to accept and easy to understand. And it actually made me think about the kind of evaluation sheets that my students have to fill out at the end of each semester, and that I will ask them to use this technique in the future, because I think it is so much more interesting than just reading it was a good seminar or it was a bad seminar. So yeah, I did enjoy that a lot. And I felt like I just had a very big personal breakthrough with this book, and it just gave me a lot, and that is not what I expected at all. Now, why only 4.5 stars? I still think that the poetry in here is totally unnecessary and kind of damages the book in a way, because I couldn't take it seriously at all in those moments, so that's why. And then I'm also halfway through Gilded Wolves. Really enjoying this so far, but I feel like just because I've been traveling and I've just been reading chapters here and there, I'm not really giving it a fair chance. So I hope that I will be able to finish it tomorrow. So just to give it a little bit more of a chance to kind of work as a whole for me. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, today I'm traveling back home, so I'll be on the train in a second, and then we'll see where it goes. So today is the 12th of March. I am back home. As you can see, I arrived well and safely yesterday, and yeah, I'm just really feeling, that home feeling. It's great. I'm having quite a relaxed Sunday. I'm trying to clean up my apartment a little bit because tomorrow I'll have a visit from a friend, which I'm very excited about, and that's pretty much all I'm doing right now. I'm just relaxing and cleaning up a little bit. But I wanted to give you a quick update because I read a lot of the Gilded Wolves yesterday on the train, and so today my plan is to finish this book. So this is the perfect length to finish while I take a bath later. So I think this will definitely happen. And then I also wanted to show you two books that I got in a library sale that I went to last week. And I don't think I've shown you these, so I thought I'd just quickly show them. And the first one is one that I've had on my wishlist for a very long time, and that is Hollow Kingdom by Kira Jane Buxton. And this book I don't really know a lot about, except that it has the perspective of a crow. And that is just something that really intrigued me. I think it's a YA book, and this is the German translation. I think this is also the first book in the series, but I thought I'd just pick it up. I've been looking at this for such a long time now, and so now I finally own it, which means I will probably read it. And then I picked up this book because it was the only one from the English section that I was interested in, and this is The Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. And I think this one was nominated for some kind of prize, maybe the Women's Prize last year. I have seen it in a vlog, and the review of it wasn't that great, but it still sounds very interesting to me. This is a historical fiction that has to do with planes, and so I thought I'd pick it up. It is a hefty book, it is huge and heavy, but we'll see. I just feel like this could be a book that works for me, and I just wanted to give it a try. So I paid €1 for each of these books, so 2 brand new books, like mildly used books for €2. I really couldn't pass that up, and so I wanted to show those to you. So today's the 14th of March. Is it March? I don't know. And I want to give you a quick update. I did finish reading The Gilded Wolves. I decided to give it 4 stars. It was quite fun, but there was just something missing for me, and I think I didn't really love the ending so much. There were a couple of things happening that I don't know how I feel about. But yeah, I'm doing a separate reading vlog for the whole series, so there I will go into my full thoughts for that. And then I also started reading the Silvered Serpents, so this is going to be the second book in this trilogy, and I'm going to read it right away. We'll see how I like this one. It's a little bit longer, not too much, so yeah, maybe some of the things I did not like about the first one will be better in here. We'll see about that. And then I'm 85% into my audiobook Assassin's Quest, so now things really started to come together. We get a lot of like things that we've been wondering about slightly explained now. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I can't wait for the end just to know how this first trilogy wraps up finally. And yeah, I'm also really excited to go into some shorter audiobooks after that, because yeah, I've been reading that series for a very, very long time now, and I'm ready to move on with my audiobook choices. So that's how my reading is going right now. I'm not quite sure whether I will finish the audiobook before ending this vlog, so wish me luck. That would be really cool, and I'll keep you updated on that one. So today is the 17th of March, and I want to end this vlog and I think I'll start a new one for next week. I really don't know how boring this one is gonna be, because yeah, there was a lot going on in my life, but I don't feel like that translated into the vlog, so I'm sorry. But I just finished my audiobook Assassin's Quest by Hobb. This is the third book in the Farseer trilogy. And this is a huge success for me, because I have not listened to anything else apart from this series so far this year. And I was really like feeling the itch to get to them other like audiobooks that I'm really excited about. So yeah, I'm done with the first trilogy in the realm of the Elderlings, which is very exciting. And I did really enjoy this book. I decided to give it 4 stars as well as I did with the second book. The first book does remain my favorite. I just loved that one so much because we have the introduction into the world, but then also I felt like the ending of the first book was the best. Like, it was so intense. I don't think that the other 2 books could really hold up to that. They did have more or less good endings, but just never like really sparked the same excitement in me. I think the ending of Assassin's Quest is kind of bittersweet. I knew where it would kind of end off in a very vague way, because I had heard where the other books then continue basically, but I didn't know all the details, and so it was totally fine. Yeah, I think actually I probably like Assassin's Apprentice the most, then Assassin's Quest, and yeah, I think that Royal Assassin was a little bit of a middle book for me, but they're all quite close together, and I would definitely recommend this series. I think that Hobb has a very weird way of writing cozy fantasy, because it feels very cozy even though there is a lot of like horrible stuff happening all the time. Also at the end of Assassin's Quest, there were just a couple of scenes where I was like, I did not need all of that detail, thank you very much. But yeah, it's good. She's a great writer, and I will definitely continue on with the realm of the Elderlings. I can't promise that I will do it this year, just because these books are massive and I have so many like big books I want to read this year. So we'll see where my reading mood takes me. Maybe in the fall I will really crave this world, so we'll see. But yeah, that's it for this reading vlog. I haven't really done any reading in a physical manner in the last couple of days, so I still haven't really started Silvered Serpents, which is kind of annoying to me. But it is what it is. And so I hope you enjoyed this vlog. I hope it was somewhat fun. Leave a nice comment down below if you want, and you can also leave a like. And I will talk to you very, very soon with the second part of my March reading. Bye!